While countless Australians sweat over mortgage payments and grocery bills, one woman's wealth surges by the minute. In fact, Australia now counts 47 billionaires, and Gina Rinehart towers above them all. Her fortune, estimated at $30 billion, still grows by the second, bending the financial gravity of an entire nation. This isn't a fairy tale. This is real life, and it forces us to confront an unsettling question: what happens when one person's fortune becomes more powerful than the dreams of millions? Let's start with the raw numbers. As of 2025, Gina Rinehart's net worth is 38.11 billion Australian dollars. To put that in perspective, that's more than the GDP of nations like Iceland, Montenegro, or Papua New Guinea. It also means that Gina alone controls more wealth than Australia spends annually on higher education. If she wanted to, Gina Rinehart could buy every single home in the city of Darwin, twice. And here's the kicker. While the average Australian earns $38 an hour, billionaires in Australia earn the equivalent of $67,000 per hour. Every single hour, even while they sleep. To understand Gina Rinehart, we need to go back to her father, Lang Hancock. In 1952, flying over Western Australia in his small plane, Lang claimed to have discovered massive iron ore deposits in the Pilbara. He became one of the most famous prospectors in Australian history, a man who declared that the Pilbara would make Western Australia as rich as Texas. Gina was born in 1954, his only child. Growing up, she was immersed in the world of geology, mining leases, and the dream of iron riches. But the family was turbulent. Lang was known for his controversial views and fiery personality. Gina's relationship with him was complicated, admiration mixed with conflict. When he died in 1992, Gina inherited Hancock Prospecting. But what she inherited was not a finished empire. It was a company with rights to iron ore but little cash, and surrounded by rivals and lawsuits. Most assumed she'd fade into obscurity. Instead, she transformed the company and herself into one of the most formidable forces in global mining. The turning point came with the rise of China. In the 2000s, China's hunger for steel drove iron ore prices to historic highs. Gina sat on some of the richest deposits in the Pilbara. Her boldest move? Roy Hill, a $10 billion project, one of the largest mining ventures in Australian history. Critics said she couldn't pull it off. But in 2015, the mine began operations. It now ships over 55 million tons of iron ore every year, generating billions in revenue. Roy Hill alone is worth more than some of Australia's biggest public companies. But Gina didn't stop with iron. She expanded into agriculture, buying massive cattle stations, making her one of Australia's largest landowners. She invested in gas and coal projects, more recently in lithium, positioning herself for the clean energy boom. She's not just a mining magnate. She's a diversified empire builder. But how does Gina compare to other titans of wealth? A Harry Triguboff, the property king known as High-Rise Harry, is worth about $13 billion, a third of Rinehart's fortune. His empire is built on apartments and the urban housing boom. Anthony Pratt, packaging magnate and recycling giant, sits around $11 billion. His empire touches almost every supermarket shelf in Australia. The Atlassian tech founders, Mike Cannon-Brookes and Scott Farquhar, are worth about $15 billion each. Titans of software, yes, but still only half of Rinehart's fortune. And here's where it gets staggering. The combined wealth of Australia's richest 10 billionaires is $202 billion. But Gina alone makes up nearly 20% of that figure. It shows just how dominant mining and Gina Rinehart remain in the Australian economy. Of course, wealth is relative. Globally, Gina doesn't crack the top 10. The world's richest person in 2025, Elon Musk, hovers around $230 billion. That's nearly 6 times Gina's wealth. Jeff Bezos, Bernard Arnault, Warren Buffett all control fortunes well above $100 billion. But here's the key difference. Unlike tech or luxury goods, Gina's wealth comes from the earth beneath her country's feet. It's tied to national resources, iron ore, coal, lithium. If Elon Musk represents the future of space travel, Gina Rinehart represents something more ancient, the raw extraction of natural wealth. And historically, resource tycoons have shaped nations. In the US, John D. Rockefeller controlled oil, Andrew Carnegie controlled steel. In Australia, it's Gina Rinehart who controls the iron. But money isn't just money, it's power. Gina Rinehart is one of the largest political donors in Australia. She has lobbied against mining taxes, carbon taxes, and pushed for deregulation. In 2012, she famously bought a major stake in Fairfax Media, sparking fears she was trying to influence journalism itself. She has supported conservative politicians, sometimes openly calling for policies that critics say would benefit her industry at the expense of the environment. And she's not shy about her views. She once argued that Australians should work harder and cut wages if they want to compete with Africa, a comment that sparked national outrage. But this raises the deeper question: should an individual billionaire have such a powerful voice in shaping a nation's policies? Behind the empire lies turmoil. Gina's wealth has been the subject of bitter family disputes. Her own children have taken her to court over control of the family trust, worth billions. The legal battles were messy, public, and revealed just how immense the fortune at stake was. She's also faced criticism from environmental groups over her coal and gas projects. To some, she is a symbol of climate inaction. To others, she is the reason Australia still prospers from mining exports. Her public statements, often blunt and unapologetic, have earned her both admiration and scorn. Yet Gina Rinehart is not just a tycoon. She's also a philanthropist. She has poured millions into sports, particularly swimming, where her sponsorship has kept Australia's national teams competitive. She funds medical research, scholarships, and agricultural projects. In 2024, she was even awarded the highest honor from the King of Cambodia for her charitable contributions. But philanthropy from billionaires is always viewed through two lenses. Is it generosity, or is it a way to soften public criticism? History reminds us Rockefeller built libraries, Carnegie built universities, but they were still ruthless tycoons in their day. Here's the truth: Gina Rinehart's story isn't just about one person. It's about Australia itself, a nation whose wealth has always been tied to the land, first in sheep and wool, then in gold, then in iron ore and coal. And it's about the future. As the world shifts toward renewable energy, can mining billionaires like Rinehart adapt? Her move into lithium suggests she sees the writing on the wall. But critics say she's still too tied to fossil fuels. And as inequality grows, her fortune becomes a lightning rod. Should one individual control resources that belong to the land? Or is this simply the reward of enterprise in a capitalist society? If history is any guide, Gina Rinehart will be remembered much like Rockefeller, Carnegie, or Australia's own Kerry Packer. Not just as a billionaire, but as a figure whose wealth shaped politics, culture, and national identity. Her empire is written in iron. Her story is written in controversy. And her legacy, love her or hate her, will outlive her. So there you have it. Gina Rinehart, the richest person in Australia. A woman whose fortune towers over rivals, whose influence touches politics and media, and whose story forces us to confront what wealth means in a modern democracy. Is she a visionary builder, or a symbol of inequality? That's for history, and for you, to decide. If you enjoyed this deep dive into wealth, history, and power, subscribe to Vaulted Wisdom for more stories at the crossroads of history and finance. Hit that like button if you want more long-form breakdowns, and comment below. Should billionaires like Gina Rinehart shape the future of Australia, or should the nation take back more control of its resources? Until next time, remember, history isn't just the past. It's the blueprint of the future.